Hey. Oh, they're still going. Hey, welcome out to Bodega Nights. I can't remember what episode this is.
I think it's episode 2.
Alright, I'm Joao and I'm joined by Miko and Paulo.
Yo.
Hi.
Otherwise known as the Cebu crew. Or
Sad.
the Cebu boys. Because like last time we did this, we were like in Manila, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm Joao and Miko, introduce yourself. And what do you want the internet to know about you?
What do I want the internet to know about me? That's an awful question. I want them to know nothing. And continue to know nothing except my opinions. So I'm a hardcore gamer. I've done lots of strange things, have lots of weird hobbies here and there, and I am very, very antisocial. I want social media to know that.
Which is why we're in podcasting.
Yep.
Alright, Paulo, what do you want the internet to know about you?
Hi, I'm Paulo Panganiban. I am an unusual man with unusual interests. I game a lot. I also have a habit of reading art or reading stuff randomly. And if you will ever see me in the wild, I will be a giant green cat.
Okay. How was GTA 5?
I'd like to tell you about the story of me going to the lines for GTA 5. It was such a horrible having to wait an hour plus just to get my copy, as there were non-existent lines. Okay, I actually went in the morning and, well, there was nobody in the shop except one guy getting an iPad. That being said, GTA 5's, it's awesome. Somehow it makes me nostalgia for my teenage years with San Andreas.
Okay, I was worried for a while because you had a very weird teenage life that reminded you of your childhood. So were you the guy, wearing the dress, running around in the desert, or which would you seem to attach more to? Because there are 3 guys there, which make it really different from the other GTAs.
I attach more to Franklin, but that's mostly because he kind of reminds me of CJ, who doesn't want to be a gangster and is 20 intelligence points smarter.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, but for you, is this thing really up to the hype? I mean, everyone talked about spending so much cash on this, and I mean, I've heard about that, especially when it comes to a more recent, one of the older games at this point, which was Modern Warfare 3, which they dumped. Was it over 180 million on that one?
Yeah, but did they dump more into GTA?
Oh yeah, they dumped 280 million. But I mean, at Modern Warfare 3, those 180 million is overhyped, and we end up with essentially a graphically standard game that really didn't have anything to show for it. Is that what you felt with GTA 5, or is it really up to its hype?
From what I could tell, the game lives up to its hype.
Alright.
If we're going visually, this is by far one of the best looking GTA games that's out there.
Until PC comes out, we make mods.
Definitely. Well, and a message to Rockstar. Give us LAN, or, well, don't expect the other sales. Don't expect more sales if you don't give us LAN.
Really?
PC love.
Give us LAN. We will love you for it.
PC.
But then GTA has always been console based, right? So
that is true, but I'm also going off of the precedent set by GTA 4. Their online mode, while it was only 4 players, also had a feature that allowed them to do system link games, which is essentially like LAN but for consoles. So you could have 4 guys with 4 TVs and 4 Xboxes, and then they could play in the basement together. No internet.
We apologize for the squeaky floor.
Yep.
It's made of wood.
But I mean, to go back to you're saying that it has a console basis, but you have to remember the old GTA was top view, where your view of the character was a head, some arms sticking out, versus the newer ones, which is really a third-person style shooter, more similar to Hitman games, Gears of War. But especially when it came to driving and certain aspects with vehicles, it became harder and harder to control with control. I mean, I'm sure that lots of console gamers will say otherwise. I agree. I mean, I've done that, but the average person will not have the same dexterity, especially with the button demands. And I mean, the button demands when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
The PC generally has a lot more options in what you can do versus the most consoles.
Well, you make a good point. I mean, especially considering that you could key a number of functions onto multiple adjacent keys is near the ones you usually use. But with regards to driving in GTA 5, it's actually a lot more smoother.
Oh, really?
It's a lot smoother than it was back in San Andreas. I could tell you that because I did a bit of driving around, and my propensity for accidental vehicular mayhem was actually far less.
So can you actually back up the car and not commit 2 murders?
Yeah, but why would you want to do that? I mean, that's not
GTA.
I mean, to be fair, the cars still gain momentum so fast that you will hit something.
Actually, GTA, come to think about it, like before the show we were talking about, before we started recording, we were talking about games whose second one was your very first experience with the game. So Street Fighter.
Oh, Street Fighter 2. I mean,
Like, who played Street Fighter?
the first Street Fighter? Oh, very, very sad people who thought Street Fighter 2 must be horrible.
Yeah.
GTA is like that.
I guess you could say,
How so? I mean, weren't the first 2 games good?
Yeah, but like with Street Fighter, it isn't whether the game was good or not. It is that nobody played the first one. You can have the most amazing first game that nobody played, and it still falls under that umbrella.
Oh, okay.
But actually, this is even more synonymous to Metal Gear. I mean, when people think Metal Gear Solid, the first thing that comes to mind is PlayStation 1.
2 discs.
But, you know, that's not the first Metal Gear. The first Metal Gear came out for the SNES, and that was around I think it was the 80s or 90s.
Correction.
I'm not sure.
It actually initially came out on the MSX. With Hideo Kojima considered the NES version, pretty bad.
Wasn't it on the on the SNES, not the NES?
Metal Gear was on the NES.
Oh, okay, NES. But, my bad, how many people play the MSX? I mean...
Most of them were Japanese guys, which is kind of why I'm happy that with the Legacy Collection, they released the MSX version with it.
So, but let's look at that as the NES version being essentially the one people played, and it was a bug-ridden game with the horrible translations, and anyone who played that one, when they probably saw the Metal Gear for the PlayStation, was really, really skeptical about this being a good game.
So, kind of like Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, no, Street Fighter 1, you played that, you probably would never play 2. But I mean, that's why. I mean, there's some games that they're lucky that the second one was so much far better, and everyone completely forgot about the first one, and no one asked, where's Street Fighter 1? Or is this the first Metal Gear?
This just reminds me of the fact that a number of people complain about sequels about games when in reality a lot of the defining games in the world were actually sequels. I'm going off of a few examples here. Like what you mentioned with Metal Gear Solid and what you mentioned with Street Fighter. But other notes were like the Mega Man series really started picking up once 2 and 3 came out.
So you're saying that StarCraft is like the exception to the rule?
Well, no, it's not the exception to the rule. It's more like what I said about mine wasn't what I was trying to say was that for a notable number of games, not every game.
True, but I think that really sorry to get in here, but I think that's really more of the 80s, which was right after the first gaming collapse, where people were forced to try to rethink things.
Oh, okay. Actually, I think that would be the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I mean, those are times when you saw sequels being better because they had to reinvent games and they had to try out different things, and lots of times your first try is going to be bad.
Yeah.
But you hope it's just enough that you can get your second game. I mean, I think we can even see this in the Sonic series with Sonic 2.
Yeah.
Sonic 1, I mean, I'm a Sonic fan. I love Sonic games. I've played most of them except for a few, mainly because some of them are pretty bad.
Or they weren't available to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got only Sonic CD recently, but like Sonic Racer, I'm sorry, Sonic does not belong in the car.
He can outrun the car, dude.
But going that, Sonic 2, I mean, introduced things that we never had in Sonic 1. One being Spin Dash.
In fairness, I've actually played a modified version of Sonic 1. Like this guy's stealth, he managed to put Knuckles into Sonic 1 and retain the Spin Dash. I just realized that if I played if I played Sonic 1 again, but only with Sonic, a lot of the areas where I felt like I only could move forward using the Spin Dash, I think I'd have a real bad headache because of those.
But there are also some games that it takes up to maybe a third to fourth game to actually get up. I mean, same with Mega Man. I mean, Mario 1 was nice. Mario 2, which is really debatable, which is the real Mario 2. We have Mario 2 in Japan, which is the real Mario 2, and the weird Mario 2 where you played as Toad, Peach, Luigi, and Mario, which was essentially a copy of Doki
Doki Panic.
A skid.
But when it came to Mario Brothers 3, that was really nice.
Actually, I would say that the definitive version of Mario was the first one on the SNES.
Okay.
So, Super Mario World?
Yeah. Yeah, the one where you had Yoshi.
Why?
because that was, the first couple of Mario games were pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
While Super Mario World was the first one that just looked amazing at the time.
No, I mean, it held really well. I mean, some good games. I mean, graphics, nowadays graphics, the thing that, it has to be graphically pleasing. No, I mean, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. You look at games like Super Mario World.
Yeah.
It looks great, and even today.
Yeah.
You look at games even like the Sonic 3 and the Sonic 2, they're still pretty visually appealing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you look at some games like, some, not even that far back, games like, what's it, Deus Ex, with the Deus Ex? Deus Ex. That game, in its time, looked weird. Today it still looks weird. It's a game that survived mainly because the story and gameplay was really interesting, but graphically, I don't think there's any time it was really that appealing.
True. And in fairness, I know for a fact that, having played what was supposed to be considered the third sequel to, like, the graphical marvel known as Crysis.
What's the third sequel?
Crysis 3.
Isn't that like a third?
Second sequel.
Technically, yeah, go.
Okay. It's like...
So
I look at things right now and I feel that the importance of graphics feels reduced right now. I mean, if we were living back in the world where Crysis launched, Crysis 3 would at least, be better received because of its, graphical achievements and all. Crysis 3 it's either been considered meh or bad.
You know what? I can't remember where I read this, or who said it, but when it comes to graphics, you feel for characters that either don't look like humans,
yeah,
or do look like humans, like really look like humans. But everything in between just really isn't anything. Like,
well, you gave us like human and non-human.
Yeah, but like there's a range, like Mario.
Like anamorphic.
No, like Mario.
Yeah.
Does not look human. Like, let's face it, Mario.
Hey, Super Mario Brothers show.
So, he
yeah.
is a cartoon guy. To be fair, this feels like a discussion going into the Uncanny Valley, where with regards to our ability to relate to characters, well, essentially there are like 3 points. One point is the point that happens before the valley, where we have characters with human attributes.
Yeah.
That are appealing mostly because they look clearly non-human, but they just act human enough to be endearing.
Okay.
Then we have the Uncanny Valley, where they essentially try their best to make the characters look human, but due to certain things like bad visual design or graphics, bad voice acting, and bad characterization or janky movements, we end up with characters that actually turn us off. We can't relate to them. In fact, for some people, they're actually plain scary. And then we have the third point, which is true photorealism. But this isn't just a matter of graphics. To reach this, you also need good characterization, good acting, good voice work, and the movements need to look and feel natural.
I think the key point here is it has to be organic. I mean, if we're looking at the games like from Mario to the modern ones, it's not a really fair comparison because games like Mario, Sonic, Dig Dug, when these games came out, I mean, everything prior to you didn't have an actual hero. I mean, you play games like Asteroids, there was no real character. It was a spaceship. But when you had characters like Mario, Dig Dug, and Sonic, you had faces, you had personalities, so there was a development. But then, I mean, these guys feel like people because they felt organic. Their movements didn't feel glitchy. I mean, it was not because technology was bad. I mean, you saw games like, I think one of the first adventure games on the Atari 2600. It still felt very organic. The movements were just clean with the limited graphics. But when things didn't feel organic, they felt very rough in their movements. It just didn't work well.
It felt rough, it felt unnatural, and it felt like something that you wouldn't want to be spending your time with.
Like an example of this is there's some movie Spirits Within. Spirits Within was a Final Fantasy. Spirits Within was a movie, and graphically they were amazing for its time. But people could not relate to it because as real as it looked, it didn't feel organic. I mean, you saw their actions, you saw their expressions. It felt so forced, so unnatural that we could not put ourselves in that.
Essentially, Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within is the perfect example of a work that fits right into the middle point, straight into the Uncanny Valley.
Mm-hmm. It just looked visually appealing, but it didn't feel organic. And the organicness is really what makes us attached to a person or attached to a character. Because really, I mean, we can't really share anything with Mario or Sonic. We're not an Italian plumber who goes through pipes and saves princess with, the use of different power-ups. Nor are we a blue hedgehog who's trying to fight an evil man with robots. Or seriously, no one can really relate to either. But it feels organic. It feels real to us because the movements are not strange. There's things that make sense. We move the controllers and it's very reactive. We get the movement.
And even with that considered, if we just look at the characters and we look at their expressions, they're endearing to us. They feel endearing.
They smile.
Well, it's not even because they smile, but it's also because of the way they show their expressions. It's clear.
I mean, look at Conker. I mean, Conker's Bad Fur Day. He does not smile at all. He's probably one of the most foul characters, but
he gets drunk.
We have this feeling because he feels so real. His movements don't feel unnatural. They feel correct and apt. And that's, a key thing. Even RPG games which didn't have much graphics like Final Fantasy VI and prior, which of course they weren't 3D. 3D came out to 7 later, but you still had that feeling of attachment because the text, everything felt organic. It felt like, it doesn't feel short. It doesn't feel like a Mary Sue thing that, okay, this happened, Not like Twilight and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where you feel like they're not actual people, but what they're doing things maybe you might do in their circumstance, so they feel organic.
Essentially, it's not that they are real, but it's that they feel real.
Shout out, by the way, to Mocha, the dog.
Mocha has that thing where she always barks at people she doesn't see every day. Yes, her short-term memory is, I think, only half a day, and then she'll, forget you and bark at you again.
Last episode, we had Maui, the dog, so...
Was Maui this loud?
She was actually really quiet.
Oh.
And the pizza guy, as well, was kind of...
Oh, yeah, I saw that shouted pizza guy.
There was a pizza guy.
Yeah, the pizza guy just showed up. He was like, hey, here's some pizza.
Oh, okay.
And we paid him, so...
Did you pay him in rupees?
Why would I pay him in rupees?
I don't know. It's like it's like easy money that you just get by smashing pots.
Just so you know, he means rupees from Zelda, not from
Indonesia
or a place else.
That was India. Indonesia's rupiah.
It's similar, but no, he means from the game.
Yeah.
From a psychotic man who likes cutting grass, pottery, and barging into people's houses. That guy's, messed up.
Yeah.
The relatability comes from the fact that maybe you can actually relate to the character, but for video game characters, at least the older ones, there really was no real relatability to them. You could see it as hey, again, going to the old characters, Dig Dug, Mario, Sonic, these are the Bomberman,
Pac-Man.
There was really nothing you could go here unless, you were, Yellow Circle in the club.
Yeah.
Chasing ghosts with pills.
In fairness, what they had... what they had was, they were endearing.
They were not endearing. They moved as you'd expected. They felt organic. You felt like you were actually part of it. And that has a lot to also do with the controls. That's why there's some games that look really nice, but the controls are just atrocious.
Yes.
Really, there's some ports of games that are really bad. I remember Alone in the Dark, which I enjoy, but when it was ported to the Wii, yes, I got Alone in the Dark on the Wii, don't judge me.
Wait, there was Alone in the Dark on the Wii?
Yeah, it was interesting. Hey, Alone in the Dark, this is interesting series, so I'll try it on the Wii. Oh gosh, it was horrible. The controls...
Wait, is this the port of the 360 game?
Yeah, except the 360 felt like a game, this one felt like a chore.
Yeah, but...
Or you had to do check your items, you had to do this weird motion with your hands like you're opening your jacket.
Yeah, but even then, I hear the 360 game was weird.
That's Alone in the Dark. But
not
the Wii was... the game killed itself with a glitch.
Yeah, I know it's Alone in the Dark, but the thing is, felt weird in a bad way. Even for people who are familiar with the original game on DOS.
But hey, that was still a lot better than the one on the Wii. I died more trying to get out of an elevator than any other thing in the entire series of Alone in the Dark for the Wii.
That just reminds me.
But that's an example of bad controls. But not saying that motion controls are bad. Motion controls are tricky, and it's hard for games to use them effectively, but there have been a number of games that used it well. Zelda for the Wii.
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword used it well. Even the Twilight Princess used it really well.
Wait, did?
Yeah, you actually did have motion controls for Sword if you actually want. You could also go to just
full controller.
Yeah. But I mean, those games use it really well. But, you can have a nice looking game, but the controls don't feel right. It's a big killer. I mean, this is also why lots of the older gamers never ever enjoyed wireless anything. Wireless mouse, wireless keyboards, because there was this 0.5 second or 0.1, 0.5 second delay.
Yeah.
And people like, you don't notice that. Like, oh, of course you did. You ask anyone going this thing, that 0.1 second, you're going to feel it. Ask any racing gamer that 0.1 second, oh gosh, it's going to beat them up. RTS, 0.1 seconds, gets you off in the bad way. I mean, it gets you...
Yeah.
Your micro is messed up.
A lot of stuff is
And
messed up.
you think the 0.1 second, you don't even notice that, but when you go in this zone, it is the slowest thing ever. I mean, that's why when it comes to LAN or online gaming, so we had the ping wars, where you try to make sure your ping's under 100. Because anything above 100, you're pretty much dead.
Oh gosh, oh gosh.
And I mean, the controls, that's why, going back to it, organic has to do a lot with the controls. The movement has to feel right, and also the way you control them has to feel natural. If you have those things, then you'll attach more to the character, because for the older games, you feel like you're living through his life, so hey, I'm the hero. But you play other games, the newer ones, especially RPGs, one that's being really hailed right now, Last of Us, is you felt like there were actual people that you could relate with to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you got it. And the controls are right, everything, the story is good. But it breaks down to it, if Last of Us was just a simple, zombie killing type game similar to Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead, we still have that feeling of endearment to characters, mainly because it felt normal, it felt real, and didn't have any real major story in Left 4 Dead.
True, but the characters in Left 4 Dead were characterized well.
Yeah, that's if you actually looked into the characters much. I mean,
lots
of times people who played LAN, we were just playing, us, and it just felt natural how we were moving.
Well, true, but the consideration here is the way they talked and their mannerisms given by the voice, which, it goes back to the whole endearment talk.
But when we play Left 4 Dead, do you get the feeling that, you're playing as them? Or, say when Miko's down, are we saving, that fat black guy, or are we saving Miko?
We're saving...
I'll argue, but I'll save Zoe every single time.
In that regard, we're saving Miko, but in that regard, yes, we're saving Miko, and in that regard, yes, we're actually looking at the characters as, the people who are playing them, but still, the characters we play as give these mannerisms and speak in this certain fashion that at least makes them feel more than just random player avatars.
No, but I think maybe that case with the voice acting applies more to the single player experience. When it comes to LAN, I think it brought more down to organic movement and controls, because really, when we play Call of Duty and when we play other games with voiceovers that you could actually hear, you hear us screaming at each other more than you hear.
Actually, there's a difference there. With Left 4 Dead, the mannerisms and the voicing of the characters at least differentiates with each of them. Call of Duty, it's
pretty similar, yeah.
It's actually so similar that the only difference is accent.
I'm Middle Eastern. I am American.
I am Russian.
And I am British. But I mean, even those games, but when they played Left 4 Dead, this was me, Norm, John, shout out to the guys in Manila. What I remember specifically wasn't the banter of their characters talking to each other when they found pills. It was Norm going to John saying, "Do you have pills? Great. How do I give this to you? Oh, give left click." Goes to Norm, swallows the pills.
Well, okay, you make a good point there, but then again, I think we're already starting to go into a discussion of the differences between what happens in the game and what our own experiences are during the time we play the game.
True. But still, this also goes back to the fact that the controls feel right.
I wasn't disputing that.
But just saying, I mean, one of the key things also is the controls.
Control actually is very important, mostly because it kind of affects your ability to
interact, live in the world.
Interact, live, and connect. Let's put some perspective. Let's say if Rayman didn't control well, would you be able to would you be able to connect or find endearing in any way the character of Rayman without the connections between his with his hands and his main body?
Well, I'll say this: if the controls will play, well, I probably won't play the game.
Yeah, which also defeats the purpose of even trying to connect with the character, because no one would want to connect with a character in a game that is, well, unplayable.
So, can you have a game without story or without like a narrative?
Oh, of course.
A game that relies purely on gameplay without any sort of narrative whatsoever.
It's called Minecraft, I think, one of the big ones right now. It has no real narrative whatsoever. I mean, you're literally plopped in the world, figure it out.
But like Minecraft isn't really fun unless you have like the meta narrative.
So,
you think of sandbox games, really.
In this consideration, are we discussing stories that the game is trying to portray to us, or are we discussing the stories that the game allows us to make?
You see, can we have a game devoid of both?
So
it's the
ability to make
the game and everything like that.
and the ability
Yeah,
to
like
make
we're
stories.
talking about Left 4 Dead. Like,
Well,
you know,
I guess I would revert back to some of the older, more, time-killing games. I mean, games like Tetris, Breakout, Minesweeper. I mean, people could say there's a story, but I'm sorry.
Same with
Tetris is...
I think
There is no story in Tetris.
I think you're forgetting Space Invaders.
No, Space Invaders had a story.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Asteroids didn't, I think. Asteroids had... You were just kind of stuck in the middle of the thing because, I know, you're a bit of an idiot. I'm in the middle of the asteroid. What do? I'm gonna blow stuff up. I should leave, but... Nah,
but
America.
that counts as a story. Like, a guy stuck in the middle of an asteroid field.
He's not even stuck. He can go around.
Well, yeah, but, you know.
A guy finds himself in the middle of an asteroid field, needs to destroy the asteroids to get somewhere.
Yeah, like beginning, middle, end. Like, your premise is, dude, I'm stuck in an asteroid field, and, I forgot how to turn.
Okay.
But I guess we go back down to, I mean, time-killing games. Tetris, Breakout, some people can say Minesweeper has a story.
They did make, like, a trailer for it.
Okay, no, that was like a college humor thing. That was funny.
I would have watched that movie. Like, I would have watched.
I mean,
I need to watch that movie.
And yes, these are the very basic things. I mean, like one of the very first games being tennis. That was played on radars. That it didn't really have a story. It was just basic mechanics and it was fun. Tetris was a single player game and Breakout was a single player, could be multiplayer. Even Pong to an extent, was a storyless game. Some people say, it's about the story of one man trying to accomplish things with a paddle.
Okay.
But no, I mean, these were very basic games when they were still becoming new. This is prior the first fall of gaming. That was around the
83.
83, yeah, that's after when Atari started thinking, we need money, make a random game. Yeah, that's when the fall of video games came, and it was saved by, a specific Italian plumber. No, I'm a Sonic guy, but I'll give Mario that he's one of the ones that really pulled it out of this horrible situation you're in.
Yeah, because, he pulls stuff out of pipes.
Yep.
Wait, doesn't he bop people?
But of course, Nintendo is also the cause of the next decline of gaming. I will not call it a fall, but it was a major decline with the introduction of the Wii. Which, the Wii, it was a mix. Some people say, hey, Wii's great because it made gaming... So okay, I mean, being a gamer suddenly didn't seem so bad because, I mean, all gamers above 22 probably know this, that being a gamer was pretty much a stigma.
Well,
People didn't respect if you're a gamer. But when the Wii came out and suddenly gaming was okay from everyone from little kids to, grandfathers, they said, hey, being a gamer's not so bad. But then we saw a major decline because suddenly, they could cater to this gigantic market and the core market was sort of forgotten. I mean, we saw this very heavily with the games from Wii, which, I mean, there are a few that we could relate to. I mean, the usual titles, the Zelda, Mario, and such. But when you came to titles like Nintendo,
basically the prognosis,
Zynga games.
Essentially the prognosis there was that if I had to go by my generous rough estimates, only 20% of the Wii library could be said to have any appeal for the core market. And I say this because I also bothered to look into niche titles and imports. However, the other 80%, the 80% that everyone will readily see, because there will be a lot of leftover copies of those games on store shelves. They're shovelware.
Yeah, and I mean that's similar to what Atari happened, where people thought, "Hey, there's such a huge market. Let's make a game. We'll make money." Because suddenly, as long as you make it for everyone, hey, these little kids, let's make a game for little kids. Parents are going to buy it because the parent is not, good parents are not going to get GTA for their kids. Don't do that. You give your kid GTA and you start complaining that he does these strange things. Look, I know video games don't promote violence, but you shouldn't really give certain games to certain ages of kids. Don't give your kid Mortal Kombat. Wait until, maybe past 10, 12.
But then, you're making the direct correlation between the Wii, the PlayStation, the Xbox, whatever, when you really can't. Because they have different core markets.
They do. But remember, we had the PS Move. Then for the, Nintendo had the Wii. For Xbox, it had the Kinect. I mean, once the motion controls came in, this was because of the Wii. And that still included the decline because, honestly, motion games, there's not really much you could do with them, honestly. Motion games, what's the most common game was the dancing stuff.
In fairness,
but
I think
but then the motion controls didn't affect the overall quality of the games on the PlayStation and the Xbox.
No, but remember, the PlayStation suffered such a huge library problem for the first few years.
That actually wasn't related to the Move. The library problem was actually between 2006 and 2008.
The decline of the PlayStation, or its initial problems with library, was more because of Blu-ray than it was anything else.
It actually was due to a number of reasons. Blu-ray was one of them. It was because of the fact that the format was relatively new, so it was expensive. Another one was the cell processor on this thing was pretty hard to develop for. It wasn't until 2008 that developers actually started getting around to using it, and even then, those versions were always considered inferior. I think the most popular examples being Bayonetta and Skyrim.
But going back, the Nintendo Wii really did bring gaming to decline because for the exact reason we thought it would improve. By removing the stigma, by making it so open, we felt like, hey, people now see there is a market and they'll start producing good games. But it ended up becoming, like you said, we had 80% of shovelware.
Yeah.
And lots of people started seeing games as that. With the PlayStation, they did have a very good core, but the nice thing with the PlayStation was they had so much people developing games for the older one. And as you said, in PS2, when they actually got the hang of it, they started expanding the library. Microsoft is a PC with a remote control. Xbox is a PC with a remote control.
Then again, it's a totally different market.
Yeah.
What's his name? The CEO of Nintendo.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah. He pretty much said that
we make toys.
Yeah, they are in the business of making toys.
And I think it was also Miyamoto who said that contrary to what a number of big developers have been saying about the whole argument of games as art, Miyamoto went against that by saying, we are not in the business of making art, we are in the business of making games.
I'll agree to that, but man, the general view of the public is they see it all as one thing.
It's weird. It is really weird because I would think that we as a society should be at the point where video games have become so ubiquitous because of guys like Nintendo. There shouldn't be a stigma around it because everybody sees us 20-somethings okay, even though we grew up playing video games.
Remember, I mean, there's still that stereotype of that kid in the basement or that 20 or so guy in the basement playing MMOs or playing any other game online or any other type of game. I mean, that's for the longest time, that's still a perception gamer. I mean, even the movie Gamer portrayed, a guy playing a Second Life style game, and he was, the stereotypical overweight guy pretending to be a girl online. And that's still one of the big views of it. Or sometimes you have that loser kid who does really nothing but play games, or even the employee being the minimum wage employee who just plays games. It's never been shown as the average person, like the athlete, the CEO, other people like athlete, CEO, the average housewife, or average people playing games. It's always been these almost delinquent style people as a stereotype. And because that there's still a minor stigma, it's not as bad anymore as before.
Nowhere near as bad as it was back in the 90s and 80s.
Oh, back then it was really, really bad. They saw you as you're wasting your whole life and there's nothing to come out of this. little and behold, now we actually have professional gaming circuits where, well, it's a short life. I mean, things like 3 to 5 years for your career.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stigma isn't completely gone, but it's much better.
In fairness, I have to also point out with regards to the stigma there. It also kind of depended also on the culture where you lived in, because a lot of what you're saying right now, I can easily see happening in America, especially, but depending on other culture, on the nature of certain other cultures, I've actually seen, well, pretty different.
Korea.
Well, there was
Korea.
Korea. There's Korea. Well, I can't really describe here. It's weird, but
the problem in the Philippines is our gaming culture developed unusually. I mean, the first arcades were in Manila, and these were the coin-operated ones with Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Pong. The time I think games really became something big here was actually the PlayStation, sadly because of pirated games. I mean, back when we were kids, having 5 games for your system was amazing.
Wait, wasn't it also big? True.
And Game Boys, 1 out of 100 games.
Yeah, and
fortunately in Asia, I mean, what became big was when we had the pirated things. I'm sorry, big developers. I still do buy your games, and you're awesome.
That just reminds me of a discussion Joao and I had about piracy in games, especially in this country and for the most part Southeast Asia. As far as I know, the paying customer in this region is a new phenomenon, really.
Well, true, but lots of times because before the recent amount of data blitzes and all these video game shops, where could really buy much games?
It's not just location, it's also the fact that it's probably also correlated with the fact that we have better minimum wages now than we had in the past. I mean,
well, that and games are a lot cheaper now before in the past. I mean, before there was a pretty big investment into getting these things.
Basically, if you wanted to get a game's console, you're essentially sacrificing all of your extra income on it. It was essentially like you're essentially putting a lot of your resources behind it that afterwards buying games at high prices seemed very counterintuitive.
Because of the initial cost that you have
with the console.
The console, yeah. So
that's kind of how I felt back in the day when I got my PS2. It's like, essentially that's why buying games at full price felt, well, it didn't exactly feel intuitive back in the day.
I mean, I share the same sentiments where things were expensive, but when I actually did try making video games, I mean, that time when I discovered 1 month of work barely gave me 1 hour of gameplay, I felt really bad when I purchased anything. Then prior then I did buy original games, I did have a few pirated copies, but when I did enjoy the game, I did make sure to really buy the actual copies. But there were some games that were, well, back then, I mean, we didn't have really access to magazines, internet access about games, so you kind of risked a lot buying a game and hoping it was good.
Especially at full price.
Oh yeah, I mean, there were a number of games I bought full price that I wish I never ever got. Some people hate me for this, but I did not really enjoy Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct 1, I found it really, really off as a fighting game, and I hate how I spent so much money getting that one.
Wow, you're just making me feel lucky that I borrowed Killer Instinct from my cousin.
But just so people know, I mean, with Killer Instinct, I played Street Fighter 2. I also had the older Tekkens, and I also played on the Mortal Kombat series. So I found Killer Instinct a little too simple. That I felt like I spent good money on a game that really didn't challenge me, unlike other games, like the Mortal Kombat series, which was really nice, and same with Tekken.
So you don't like Dive Kick?
Oh, no. Dive Kick Dive Kick's a whole different world. It's just like, it's one of those, those joke games people make, but just so awesome because it's so weird. I mean, like a Surgeon Simulator 2013.
Yeah.
That's a game that was just a joke on the fact that games are trying to become super realistic. I mean, it was really that. It was made because games were going super realistic, so it was a joke of it all. But people love it because it was so bad.
It was so bad it was good.
Not E.T. bad. I mean, this was just bad, but in a weird, fun way that you try to see, how can I mess something up that seems pretty simple? I am going to pick up this drill. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna pick up this scalpel. Okay, I'm Wolverine. Let's take out that heart.
Or
Like games like Co-op.
Yeah.
Co-op. Co-op was also another joke of super realistic games, which, it's called Co-op because you use QWOP. I think it was Spacebar that also used, or is this Co-op? The spoilers. But that was to control the feet, the thighs, and things, just to have some weird running motion. And it was generally the most complicated thing to do, the most simplest task in any other game. I mean, run was for, if you're a PC player, it was W. If you're for a console player, it was the joystick forward or directional pad. This one made the act of running the most complicated thing ever. It was so bad, so strange. People just loved it.
Graphics weren't that good either, huh?
Oh no, graphics was what? Something out of Paint.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was like Paint graphics, man. It was really bad, but again, it was essentially it was a purposely made bad game that was done right. I mean, Surgeon Simulator, it's a simple thing. And there are other games that just, you have no idea why they're popular, but because there's an actual market, this being Farm Simulator 2013, which is a sequel.
Yeah.
It is a sequel. People don't really know this. It's a sequel of Farm Simulator 2011, if I remember.
So, how many farm simulators have there been?
I think this is the second one. It might be the third, but thing is, there's people think it's one of those games that it's just a joke. You play it because, hey, it's funny. No, this has a pretty serious core market of farmers. And they have about 100 mods, all of which are legitimate. There was not one single mod I expected, such as, things that you might see with 5 fingers but no, these were very legitimate mods. I mean, there were
turnips and stuff.
It was that. It was really serious.
Wait, was there winter wheat?
Yes, there was actually
winter crops,
seasons and things. And so it was a very serious core market. Same with the train simulator, which actually is the most expensive game ever if you get every single DLC, because that'll cost you over $10,000 with all the DLC.
You're just also reminding me that Euro Truck Simulator is making the waves in Steam.
Euro Truck Simulator? I didn't hear about that.
No, it's like you're essentially a trucker in Europe.
Okay, just delivering supplies.
Yeah.
So it's like the world's longest marathon race.
Essentially, because it's like, I imagine like...
It's Oregon Trail without the dysentery.
It just reminds me of friggin'... I think of truckers in the US, and then suddenly I think of those truckers with German accents going around the European Union.
Actually, I've seen that game, and it is actually really good.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, you can actually go on actual roads. Like, they recreated, the countryside.
So it's like the flight simulator games, but for trucks.
Yeah,
wow,
pretty much.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what the game is. There is a core market for this. But these are games that people think are made so weird, but no, there really is a core market, which tells you, there are pretty strange gamers out there. But going back to games like Co-op or Surgeon Simulator, these games were purposely made bad just out of fun or as a joke to over realistic games.
Farm Simulator in the Philippines.
Coconuts.
Get a Carabao, then you have the problem with the MNLF coming in to take your stuff. Gotta play...
Or the NPA.
Yeah, you gotta pay the protection fee. No, that's the real Farm Simulator if you have it here.
Yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't mind having a mod like that.
Or you'd have... What, an NPA mod?
No, you gotta pay your protection fees. I mean, this and... so in the Philippines, we don't have... We're not talking about like illegitimate crops or anything. These are like, corn, rice, and you are paying protection fee to these different groups who are essentially terrorizing your area.
Well, essentially, on one hand, there's like the MNLF, and on the other hand, there's the NPA. NPA, right? Short for communist.
NPA, short for communist. I really love that game though. Like Farm Simulator Philippines, you get like a cross between Farm Simulator and Call of Duty
and Far Cry because of the tropical setting.
I can totally imagine that,
I'd play that.
I don't know if that game would actually be called realism or absurd. I'm sure it'll sell outside as just some absurd, weird thing. Okay, we gotta sell our cops and fight back the terrorists.
Yeah, dude, think about it. You got communists, Islamist rebels. That's Call of Duty plus Farm Simulator
plus Far Cry because of tropical backgrounds.
Hey, we're gonna probably have some illegal hunting going on there.
that or illegal ranching of tamaraos.
Well, theoretically, you should be able to just pay them off. So if that comes as part of your farm simulator experience, you don't have to learn how to use a gun. Like, that's still a legitimate sort of tech path, you know?
True.
I've spent all my points on improving my farm and getting a better bottom line, but I worry the NPA will ask for more and more money every single time.
Or like have your farm in Cebu and have like only like 1% of the yield that you would have had in Negros.
Yeah, because we're a limestone island, dude.
Oh god.
At least you'll have enough sugar to feed a town.
Cebu mod for the farm simulator.
You'll have enough sugar to feed a town and nothing more.
Actually, but going to mods, I think mods are one of the things that show that your game's a success. The fact that your community is willing to spend time to make mods and things, you know you're in the right path. And I mean, that's one major reason Counter-Strike and Half-Life, well, I shouldn't say Counter-Strike, Half-Life. The Counter-Strike is a Half-Life mod. This reason why Half-Life survived for so long was it had such great community support. I mean, some of the best games came out of Half-Life.
It's still alive.
Yeah, Half-Life 3, come on.
Come on, Gabe. We know you want to.
But I mean,
I'm waiting for them to learn how to count to 3.
But come on, you're already teasing us with Left 4 Dead 3. Just give us the Half-Life.
But really, that mods really, for me, are the ultimate show that you've done good.
Let's end it with that, dude. Let's end it with that.
So what's our end thing?